published and even developed by Nintendo. Yeah, they nabbed the SimCity license and made the SNES version themselves. They even changed the monster attack to a Bowser one from Super Mario Bros. But this is still classic SimCity, and honestly, it may be better than the original on PC. Nintendo added a ton of charm to the game. Background music everywhere, fun visuals with the character of Dr. Wright coming in to tell you shit's great. They even added a lot in the form of new buildings. It's probably Nintendo had a ton of love and admiration towards the original PC game and just really wanted to make a version themselves. But keep in mind, this is on the Super Nintendo and uses a controller. So instead of just moving the mouse wherever you please, you now have to control a cursor with the D-pad, which isn't nearly as precise. Oftentimes I find myself overshooting or undershooting where I want to go, and the user interface doesn't feel adapted to the console enough. It still looks and feels like the PC release, and because of that, it can be tricky to click on specific things or know what some buttons do. And they released a damn mouse for the system a year later. If SimCity didn't use it, thank Christ Vegas Stakes did. It isn't too bad without a mouse though. I think it works fine enough with a controller and doesn't get too frustrating, mainly due to how simple the original SimCity is. However, it does immediately show the problem with bringing some PC games to console. But hey, for an older conversion, this holds up insanely well and was done with a ton of care, which works well for the other PC to console games. After SimCity, the sky's the limit. Yeah, so my name. Sim Ant, one of the many follow-ups to SimCity. I mean, they covered all bases. Sim Earth, Sim Life, Sim Farm. It was only a matter of time. Death, taxes, ants. In contrast to SimCity on SNES, Ant, plus the other Sim titles, weren't developed or published by Nintendo. This one specifically was actually published by Maxis themselves. I feel that the success behind City on the platform opened the floodgates for all these titles to go all over the place, which is both great and terrifying. Hey, more people get to play Sim Ant! Oh god. Sim Ant on SNES is alright. Compared to the original PC version, this one feels a lot more zoomed in and confusing to navigate. That works though. Decent version of the game on console. No, you can actually use the Super Nintendo mouse in this one, which is a more than welcome feature. Lacking support for the Super Scope though, not realistic. The problem though, as these games kept getting pumped out on PC, they were getting more and more complex, which were great on computers, but made console conversion so much more complicated. SimCity continued to get console games throughout the years, but here I have SimCity DS, released in 2007. While this isn't a direct conversion of a specific title, it just doesn't feel like they put the time in to rethink how SimCity could work on the handheld. Instead, it kind of adapted how it's designed on PCs to the interface of the Nintendo DS. What? It works, it just doesn't feel as optimized for the DS as it could have been. Everything's too small and awkward to select with the stylus pen. How everything's shown at an angle, while true to the PC game, it makes it clunkier and less intuitive to place objects with a stylus since your damn hand's in the way. It seems like it would have been a match made in heaven. Touchscreen can replicate a lot of the precision you get with the mouse. The problem is, they didn't make SimCity for the DS. They kind of just threw SimCity on the DS. This just don't seem to be the right fit for many of these types of games, which is why sometimes they'll put out original games based on PC series just for these things. From the Sim series, only for Wii and Nintendo DS, we got Sim Animals. Now, why was this not on PC? PETA. It works well with the Wii Remote's pointer, but that just makes me ask why this didn't also release on PC. Hey, sometimes you gotta throw the console users a bone. In this case, it's Beaver Allen. You Windows! Hey, the Sim series has been throwing console users a bone each and every entry. As part of the same Sim franchise as the previously discussed games, The Sims is one of the most successful video game series of all time because people love to use a keyboard and mouse to do weird shit. It's all about creating your sim and living life, customizing your friends, getting a job, starting relationships, or none of that. Piss on the floor. Starting with the original Sims, that may have launched on PC, but eventually made its way to consoles 3 years later. PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox. Yep, here it is, the worst thing. The Sims on console oftentimes isn't bad, but it just isn't fun to control, man. Going from a keyboard and mouse to two thighs and a torso feels like I'm controlling Sims with a keyboard ball. Every action is crammed into the controller, but it's still not enough, and you have to go through all kinds of menus and different screens for action that would just require you to move the mouse and click on PC. Whenever I'd see The Sims on consoles, I'd get excited. But after 30 minutes of trying to make do, I would give up and just try to get into nicotine again. It's not unplayable by any means. It's just too clunky for me to really have fun playing with a controller. Now, The Sims on console was followed up by The Sims Bustin' Out, a game that was never on PC. This was a console-only joint on PS2, GameCube, Xbox, Game Boy Advance, and N-Gage. So, The Sims on PC had loads of expansion packs, and by these, you get more content in your game, like dogs and sex and cats. The Sims Bustin' Out is pretty much a new version of Sims 1, with various features from those expansion packs included, with the biggest feature being the ability to leave your house, which is where the title came from. Okay, moving on. It's more of the same from the last one control-wise, but on the Game Boy Advance, we have an entirely different experience that, honestly, feels a bit better to me. It's not trying to be a consoleized version of a PC game, because it's on the GBA. They just had to flat out make a different thing entirely. This is more of an adventure game with RPG-like simulation elements. You can't achieve the level of detail on consoles and PCs, so why even bother? Just make something that works leagues better on the Game Boy Advance while retaining the character of The Sims. Beautiful. The console version? I mean, if you're gonna play Sims 1 on console, you might as well go the bustin' out route. There's just more in this one. It's just, every second I play this, I just wish I had a damn mouse. And careful what you wish for, because I got a rat instead. The Herbs Sims in the City was a total console-only spit-off to The Sims. This one focusing on grungy city and apartment living, on boxing ferrets. Why this wasn't on PC, I have no damn clue, but it does feel a bit more tailor-made for console. While it maintains the tropes of a life simulator, Herbs is a bit more focused on getting to an end point. It's not as open-ended as a normal Sims game. You want to build up your rep across all the districts, and that bust is what drives you through the experience, whereas normal Sims games, I'm gonna make you piss your pants. This game looks like it tried Monster twice. The Sims 2 on consoles features a new control scheme where we aren't telling our Sims where to go with a cursor, we just control our Sims outright. Scared the shit out of me when I first played. This goes against everything I expect from The Sims, but I will accept it for the sake of my happiness. It's so much more enjoyable to use a controller with a control scheme like this. Plus, they have a story mode, multiplayer. I mean, sure, features have been cut from the PC game. That's generally the case with console versions, but honestly, this is a decent version of Sims 2, regardless of how many changes they made from the original. Such as, no expansion packs, you couldn't just buy the Sims 2 Pets expansion for your game, you just had to flat out buy the Sims 2 Pets. Yeah, this was an expansion pack on PC, but on console, it's a standalone release. Controls just like the console version of Sims 2, which is a blessing. And it's just taking the gameplay of The Sims 2 and making it more focused on owning pets. Gotta be honest, this one I was getting pretty into. I mean, it's bitch easy to earn money. You just rub the mud's stomach a bit. That's a new sync right there. And I found the house building and editing controls to be surprisingly intuitive on the GameCube controller. The Sims 2 console lineup is actually pretty well done overall. They even did a console exclusive spin-off, The Sims 2 Castaway, focusing on surviving on a deserted island. It felt like they were improving the state of Sims on console more and more with each new entry. Genuinely, these games, even if they remove some features from the PC versions, work well on a controller. They feel optimized for them. But when The Sims 3 launched on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, it's The Sims 3! No, this wasn't supposed to happen! This is pretty much the base PC game on consoles with barely any features removed, which is good because, like I said, the previous versions would cut content, and this is basically the exact same game. But because of that, we lose the direct control we had in The Sims 2, and my god, do I miss it. Sure, pointing and clicking where to go is way more true to how The Sims was always meant to be played, but there's being true to yourself and not changing who you are to conform to society. And then there's just not taking a shower. For God's sakes, take a fucking bath! I liked how this was a bit different from the PC game. We're missing some features, but they made up for it with enhanced controls and new exclusive content. And I'd much rather take that than this, which is impressive, no doubt. It's a pretty faithful Sims 3 experience. But this is what I was talking about earlier. This just isn't fun for me to control. Might as well check out the Wii version then. The Wii Remote's pointer can easily replicate a mouse. So, of course, in this version, you have direct control of your Sim. So, the version with a mouse replacement has you controlling your Sims like in The Sims 2 on consoles, and the version with a standard controller has you pointing and clicking. We're just doing things that make sense today! I guess the pointer controls plus the direct control option would make the Wii release the best of the bunch, but it is on the Wii. Say, I get better control for worse performance. Maybe the DS version will, god damn it. Now, The Sims 4 was basically a one-to-one conversion. You even get the same expansion packs from the PC on consoles for the first time ever. The Sims 3 still did the standalone pets release thing, but because of the parity between versions, controls are still clunky point-and-click here. It's great that console users get the same exact game now, but what if I don't want that? Wrapping up the Sims discussion, we have to mention My Sims, a spin-off of the series made specifically for the Nintendo systems at the time, Wii and DS. It's kind of like how The Herbs was an attempt to consoleize. Sims, but this time we have custody. My Sims did actually get a release on Windows, but it's very apparent how laser focused this game was on capturing the Wii's audience. The Sims in this game look far more like Mii's than Sims. The gameplay feels much more akin to something like Animal Crossing, with you needing to rebuild your town by crafting and customizing furniture and housing and collecting things through the power of friendship. I don't know, isn't this from the series with the piss meter? Yes, a far more family-friendly, cutesy take on The Sims. Of course, when you whittle the franchise down to anything under a PG rating, you're pretty much left with a furniture builder. That's My Sims! Hey, the game did well enough to get numerous follow-ups. My Sims Kingdom was more of a linear adventure, going from island to island solving residents' problems. My Sims Party, My Sims Racing, My Sims Agents, My Sims Sky Heroes. That's a stretch! After all these games, I'm not really sure what the My Sims franchise was. Yeah, you can have them on weekends. Because if I'm gonna be spending my time doing anything, it's improving my credibility. Let's try Half-Life, the first game by legendary game developer Valve, released for Windows in 1998. See, I can do more than own Gobble. I can play one of the greatest video games of all time on PC, even nowadays. The world design, story, and interact. activity are second to none. It's wild to play a shooter from this time that isn't a slog to get through or confusing in some way. Half-Life is amazing. If only I could play it 12 feet over there. Well, we're in luck. Just barely. Half-Life came to console in 2001 on the PlayStation 2. My sentence has finished. This was the only console version of Half-Life 1. Never came to the Xbox, GameCube, 360, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, none of that. It was meant to release on the Sega Dreamcast. Yeah, that's right, just like the Grinch. They eventually canceled this version, and by the time it was ready to come out, the Dreamcast wasn't. That's not to say you can't play the game on Dreamcast. A nearly complete build leaked around 2013. You can burn that onto a disc and play on the console. But the PlayStation 2 version, that legally released. Everybody give it up for doing the right thing.
Let's play Half-Life on PlayStation 2 and Loiter. Oh man, they're gonna cancel each other out.
You know, this game still holds up tremendously well, even on PS2. You obviously get a much nicer and smoother experience on PC, but the console version is no slouch with new multiplayer modes, loads of control options including mouse and keyboard support, plus just an overall fairly stable conversion from the computer. It's shocking to me that this was the only console release Half-Life 1 ever got, when this I'd consider to be a technical success. Now just imagine adding a 2 on the original Xbox to the title. Half-Life 2 on the... the original Xbox. Much like how 1 was a console exclusive on PS2, 2 is a console exclusive here, though it eventually made its way over to the next generation platforms. You ever play one of the greatest games of all time, and your first game experience was the Xbox port? Half-Life 2 was a landmark title, and it's still impressive to this day, and how interactive everything is, how smooth it all feels, the incredible design. It feels so natural to play, like your first playthrough is your 7th. You feel like a badass in this game. On the PC, on the Xbox, it's still Half-Life 2. Yeah, this feels like the PC version with resolution and frame rate clocked down a few pegs. Sure, that's a good thing, meaning they barely changed or removed anything. And yeah, good on the original Xbox for being able to play this game. That surely was not an easy task in 2005. It's just not the most compelling to look back at least with The Sims busting out on GBA, like, damn, this game has Dusty Hog.
That is one seldom used pig.
Nah, this one is just Half-Life 2, running somewhat poorly. Me figuring that out is almost as impressive as me being colorblind. It's more than playable, but obviously there are much better methods of playing the game on console now. Plus many of Valve's other games. The Purple Box, a collection not only containing Half-Life 2 and its follow-up Half-Life 2 Episode 1, but 3 games that made their debut as a part of this set: Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Team Fortress 2, and Portal. Seriously, this was how these games launched. Still one of the greatest deals in all of gaming. Getting 3 new Valve releases bundled together alongside Half-Life 2? The good version this time! But since these titles launched day and date on PC and Xbox 360, they aren't really PC games that came to console, though with Valve historically being a PC game developer, it's obvious these are PC games at their heart. That doesn't mean they don't work well on console. I mean, these are all first-person games that map everything perfectly to a controller. The keyboard and mouse is definitely a preference rather than a necessity for these games, which shows how control may not always be the reason for a game sticking to PC. Due to game consoles being a dedicated piece of hardware that's not upgradable like a PC and are meant to last a good few years, more often than not, if you're developing for the latest PlayStation system, you're developing for years-old technology. PC games, you can craft your title around the latest and greatest specs out there. I'm sure the market that's able to buy your product may be more limited, but you're not gonna have have nearly the amount of restrictions you'd have on consoles. That's why many things not initially made for this screen look like ass. Oh, that's why! The company Crytek was originally known for developing games so graphically intense that PCs were the only known apparatus that could run them. The original Far Cry and Crysis were PC exclusives hell-bent on making me happy. Some of the best looking games of their time. Now, they still look pretty damn good today. But obviously, when you can only sell your game to people with a powerful PC, reality sets in. You gotta swallow your pride and release your game on home consoles. Eventually, we got Far Cry Instincts on the original Xbox and Crysis on anything with buttons. Crysis on Xbox 360 and PS3 is basically just a PC game with one level missing, no online multiplayer, and downgraded graphics to the point where it's not the graphical powerhouse it once was. It still looks fine, but 95% of the reason most were interested in Crysis in 2007 was to ogle. When you take that away, I mean, it's still a great game, but the intense graphics were honestly a big part of what made Crysis Crysis. Far Cry Instincts, on the other hand, this is just a flat-out different game from the PC original. It's based on it, but to ensure it would run on the Xbox, they basically made a new game that got the gist of Far Cry 1. The story's a bit different, the level design has been altered to be more console-friendly with less options for the player. It's pretty much just a dumbed-down Far Cry. But this game got a sequel, Instinct's Evolution. Yeah, but it's only a sequel to this version, not the original Far Cry 1. Then the sequel got a remake on Wii titled Far Cry Vengeance. Then Far Cry Instinct's Predator was an Xbox 360 version of both Instincts and Evolution, and then Far Cry 2 released.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't explaining Far Cry, I was explaining quantum physics.
Far Cry's PC origins are similar to many a series, like The Witcher. Yeah, The Witcher 1 never released on anything but PC. It was meant to get an Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 edition titled The Witcher Rise of the White Wolf, but that ended up getting canned. It's a shame, because there's nothing about this game that feels like it needs to be a PC game. Eventually, The Witcher 2 released on PC only as well, later on receiving just an Xbox 360 version, and ever since then, the series has been multi-platform, with The Witcher 3 launching on damn near everything. Actually anything. Which is definitely a trend for many of the most iconic PC franchises of all time. Just take a look at The Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Now this is a PC game.
I think.
Elder Scrolls made the jump with Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind being offered on the original Xbox in 2002, though Fallout did